What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. We have a killer guest. Greg Dickerson is with us, and we're going to talk about doing bigger deals and how to transition as an agent from strictly doing residential sales to getting into the investing side and building real long-term wealth. It's something that's been on McDaniel's mind a lot. He's been talking about that a little bit lately, getting into that side, and has taken some really good steps to do that with some folks out on the East Coast. And so we might dip into that for a second, but we want to get to Greg and talk a little bit about what, his background from coming from the building and developing world and what agents can learn from that, how we can build good relationships, and then some fun stuff on old school networking. But before all that, the junior grandmaster himself is in the co-pilot seat, Greg McDaniel, which is not going to be confusing at all. Greg number one and Greg number two. McDaniel, what's up today?
We have thing one and thing two. Yeah. So which one am I?
Well, you look younger than me, so maybe I'll be thing one today.
Okay, I'll be thing two. Good to see you, thing one. No, it is a lot of fun. I had a great weekend, a lot of fun. Got to Jax and I. We did a really, really hard, intense. As of this show, we're training for our second Spartan race. Right, this is going to be a little bit more than a 10K. We're going to go to Hawaii in August. Whenever you guys are listening, this is 2009 for a race there. And so we did a different style of training, which, oh my God, that is not, my body hurts after doing that. But then we went and we explored the, air quotes, ghetto of San Francisco, and tall white guys don't belong there. That's the fact of the matter. Tall white guys do not belong there. We saw, side shows, guys doing donuts in the streets, getting mean mugged. I'm like, I'm just here for the beer, man. We stopped and got street tacos, and I swear to God, I think the guy thought we were homeless because we looked horrible. And because Jackie, we brought $20 with us, right, for whatever we're gonna buy. And I just bought 2 big beers to go for the walk through the park with. She's like, yeah, you spent all the money on the beer, and she said it like a couple of times. So I literally think that the guy thought I was like a raging alcoholic, and I wasn't feeding this girl that I was with. And so he's like, here, ma'am, here's a second taco. Which then I ate.
Go with God, my son. Here's another taco.
Go with God.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, great. And I really can't wait to hear about thing one's, his transition from, traditional real estate into the investor, because I am talking about doing that. That is kind of where I want to go, because I see it as a long-term financial benefit when you can schedule your income versus being reactive to the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And Greg, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. When you made that shift, was it a monetary move that you did, or was it you just got bored and you're just like, this shit's really boring and I can't deal with all these real estate agents. I'm just going to do my own thing.
Yeah. So, it was a natural progression to me, and you're absolutely right. And you're on point. Real estate as an agent, it's very transactional, and the world is changing. With all the iHouse buyers and, Zillow and all these things coming down the pike with the lawsuit. I don't know if you guys are aware of the lawsuit going on right now about commissions, and these guys are, heavy hitter law firms. So we're going to see commission structures start to change very soon once this thing becomes, when you start seeing it on the nightly news and 60 Minutes and all that. So the real estate agency world, is changing. But, for me, I started out as a remodeling contractor / handyman. In the business, didn't know really anything about real estate other than I bought my first, couple of houses, owned those. I wasn't an investor, didn't even know you could do that. And started building a construction company first, and took it in 7 years from just a small remodeling handyman company. First year we did $250,000 in sales to 7 years later we were doing 30-40 million a year, and I was one of the largest builder developers in the area. And I got my license as a broker in 2001 time period. In North Carolina, they're a broker state, so you can just take the test and the classes and get your broker's license, and you're in business. You don't have to work for anybody. And I had a very substantial building company, so I didn't want to go to work for a firm or buy a franchise. I wasn't interested in general real estate as a business. So the year that I paid my agent, I don't know, I think it was about $200,000-$300,000. That's when I said, I'm getting my license, right? So I just kind of realized
naturally.
Some of these people, sorry folks, but I'm the guy that you want, right? I'm your ideal client. If you're a real estate agent and you're in the business, number one, go to work with investors, find investors, developers, work for them, learn from them, and then become them. That's what you want to do. If you're transactional and you want to be an agent, you can build a really good business off of an investor developer who has no interest in getting a license.
Yeah.
And it's reoccurring revenue. I mean, it's an annuity, right? So, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm different. And my first commission right out of the gate, you guys are going to love this. I was buying an oceanfront hotel that I was tearing down to redevelop and build houses. I was in a resort rental community in North Carolina, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, Kitty Hawk, you know, that area.
Yeah.
Where the Wright brothers took off. So I'm buying this oceanfront hotel. I tear it down, getting ready to develop the lots. The guy next door says, hey, you know, he saw my sign out there. He called me up, says, hey, I got a lot for sale. You want to buy it? And I said, well, I paid $600,000 for each of these oceanfront lots. That's what I can pay you. He said, no, I want $800,000. I said, well, the market's not there yet. It is escalating. This was 2003, 4 when the market was really starting to boom, you know, time frame. And no, it was 01 because I just got my broker's license. And I said, okay. I said, I can't pay $600,000. I said, but I can list it and we'll see if we can get $800,000. And he said, okay. So I listed it for him. 30 days later, it closed at $800,000. I made $30,000 commission.
Nice.
And both sides of the transaction. And, you know, that was my first commission right out of the gate, right? So you would have thought the light bulb would have went off then, because in my market at the time, the average commission was in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. These were $750,000 to, you know, $1.5 million beach houses. And that was the average transaction was $750,000. So you're talking about a $21,000 commission on average for most agents that were, you know, in the business back then. But I was a builder. That's what I was focused on. But, you know, it's pretty interesting the paths we take. So that's kind of how my story evolved. So I kind of backed into the real estate agent side, and I've done some general real estate over the years. And I had a number of agents that worked for me because I was busy. I was doing a lot, and they were taking on all the residual real estate business that came in that was just kind of, you know, residual to the building business and that database. But by no means did I capitalize on it. And I tell you, there's a natural progression for a lot of builders that build their entire career, then they'll retire and become a realtor. Hang on to that database. Every homeowner that you've worked on, every house you've worked on, every house that you've built, all that, they're a potential client down the road. And, you know, that's the one thing that I held on to and that I kept, that I was able to monetize down the road with my real estate business, mostly on referrals. So I had that big database, and people would reach out to me, hey, you know, I want to sell my house, you know, can you list it for me? And, you know, I would usually refer that out, you know, once I started transitioning to more the development side and things like that. So different path for me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. There's a ton to dive into. McDaniel, anything you want to ask before I pepper him with questions?
Johnson Face. This is going to be so much fun because I just call you by your nickname the entire time. Or Little Black Coal, Heart of Coal. I'm going to call you Little Blackie. There it is. Not since you're wearing a black shirt.
Okay.
That's not a racial slur, guys. It's just he's wearing a black shirt. Don't get your panties up all twist. You know, I think one of the things that, Greg, I think a lot of people are thinking right now, you kind of were living the life that a lot of agents wanted to live, you know, because you had the people like, hey, come list my house. Hey, come list my house. Did that just happen? Or did you have to go out there and do the prospecting, do the networking to get those calls? Or were you just like a unicorn? And people just came?
Yeah, so I'm a guerrilla marketer, and I'll tell you, for any agent out there, so we're in the world of social media, you know, build your brand, build your presence, get on Facebook, do all that. I'm going to tell you, there's a book called Guerrilla Marketing, the first one that was ever written. Go back and read that. That's how I built all my companies. That's how I went in 7 years from being a small $250,000 a year remodeler to being the largest remodeler in the market in a year, doing about 2.5, 3 million, and then to the largest builder. I use guerrilla marketing techniques, which means you're everywhere. You just blast yourself everywhere with offline. Back then, there were no online mediums. It was all offline. So I took out full page ads in the phone book. You know, I had ads in the newspaper. I sponsored everything in the community. I had, you know, happy hours and gatherings, and I was involved in everything. So I didn't do that in a manipulative way. I'm a networker. I'm social. I like to build relationships. And that's really what it's all about, right? Relationship is key. Real estate is a contact sport. So you got to get out. You got to make contacts. You got to build relationships. And there's two ways to do it. One-on-one. And that's one thing that I always did my entire career. I made it a point to have lunch with somebody different every single day. So I put that in my budget as a marketing budget. And I would treat, you know, tip for realtors and anybody out there, if you invite somebody to coffee or lunch, pick up the tab. That goes further than more than anything else you could possibly do in business. When you're in a business situation and you're trying to build a business relationship, if you want to be perceived as an expert and as a professional, you invite somebody out, it's on you. Movies, dinner, lunch, coffee, whatever it is, breakfast, pick up that tab. A lot of young people don't know that and have never been taught that. And I get these guys that like go out and get into wealth management, right? And they hit me up because they know that I'm a connector, and they want to pick my brain or whatever, and they'll invite me out, and they don't pick up the tab. And so that's the first thing I tell them very politely. I say, next time you do this, pick up the tab, because I tell them who to go see, right?
Yeah.
So anyways,
sadly, this very much carries over into dating. I don't know if you're, Greg, it's for those of us who are younger than McDaniel and I, like we're both in, 35 to 40. Yeah. The generation coming up underneath us, like 5 to 10 years younger, has no idea. Like, so
right.
Believe me, that comes from the social world, and it's bled sadly over into the business world.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I pick up the tab on, I'm married, obviously, but, when
I pay for my wife.
Dating, I pick up the tab. I still open the door for my wife. I mean, I'm a gentleman, through and through. And, that goes a long way in relationships when you approach it from an old school standpoint. And so that's how I did it. And for agents today, you can do that, and you can do the online thing. If you want to build a business as a real estate agent, you got to be out there. You got to be on YouTube. You got to be doing the community thing. I mean, there's a number of different things you can do, and that's a whole nother conversation of how to brand yourself with social media these days and what you should be doing out there. Things like this right here, podcasts, videos, informational stuff, not recipe of the month and garden club. I'm talking about go out to your town, go to a restaurant, do an interview, give an honest report about the restaurant, the movie theater, the latest movie, those types of things. And again, you can do it on a mass scale where you hold some happy hours and you get people together. And you don't do it for any other reason than to just, connect people. So you take your top 20 or your top 50, right, and your inner circle, and you say, okay, let's go out for ice cream, or let's go out to movies. It's on me. And, you just say, hey, I just, no other reason. I just want to thank you guys for being my friends. I want you all to come on out with me. We're going to have movie night. And you invite 50 of your closest friends, 20 maybe show up. You do it for dinner. You do it for a barbecue. You do it for ice cream. There's so many different things you can do from a social standpoint to build relationship. And that's really it. Anybody I've ever done business with, I usually maintain that relationship long term, and that's kind of how I've done it over the years. And I know that was a long answer to a short question.
That was really good.
No, it's really good. So my dad's been a broker for 47 years, and he looks at me all the time, which I completely dismiss it, which I really shouldn't, because he's really giving me good advice, but I'm just doing the lazy way of doing it, which is bad, Greg. But what he always goes, here, Greg, here's the best piece of advice I can ever give you in business. Go take someone to breakfast and to lunch every day.
Right.
And I didn't really see that as an effective part of my marketing until last week. I got together, Matt, with someone we've actually had on the show, Michael Lee, a while back. Yep. And he's a broker, multiple book author, martial art, blah, blah. The list goes on. And I actually found he spent 20 years in broadcasting, both on TV and on radio too.
Good Lord. Guys live like 3 lifetimes.
I know. And so what the thing was is this is the cool thing. He and I went and had lunch together, and he's a broker. I didn't expect, we're just kind of going to get together and hang out. Long story short, he's looking to start a radio show. He talked to the station I'm on. They wanted to charge him $240,000 for a show. So we're coming together, and we're going to have him jump on our show, be a correspondent on our show, and help us offset our costs. And that conversation never would have happened if we didn't go to lunch together.
Yeah.
Just the course of sharing a burrito, kicking back, laughing at the fact that this restaurant charged $25 for a seafood burrito. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm going to slap the server.
Well, thing number one, Greg, I wanted to ask you, there was something that you mentioned early on that I wanted to come back to, because it's part of the old school networking, and I think it's highly effective if you get in the position. But I'm curious how the first couple of invitations came your way, and that was getting on the boards, which I'm assuming you mean like nonprofits and community events, right?
Right.
So how did those first initial kind of invitations come your way?
Before we get there, so back on your topic about taking somebody else out to lunch every day. So if you do that 48 weeks a year, right? Let's say you do that 48 weeks a year because you're taking vacation. That's 192 new, warm relationships that you've created that you just can't buy that kind of marketing for $3,840 over the course of a year.
God, that's
that's about the cheapest marketing you can buy, because not only are you going to build a relationship with them, but everybody they know, they're going to be talking about you, because you're not going to spend all the time talking about your business and what you do. They're going to know it. Mm-hmm. You're going to be talking about them and getting to know them. And then you're going to put them in your database, and you're going to follow up. Hey, how's John doing this week? How's the baseball going? How's the horse riding? Whatever it is. So that whole $3,840 a year, 48 weeks a year, 4 days a week. That's only 4 days a week.
Yep.
Coffee or lunch. That's a $20 average.
You got to eat anyways. I mean, might as well go out and network. I mean, I work with Rockstar Connect. It's a company that throws an event for me for networking, right?
Yeah.
We're doing networking stuff. A lot of us don't have the time to set up networking and we're too lazy to do it. So Rockstar Connect, you guys, you go use my name, go use the podcast name, you'll get a discount, you'll sign up. It's great. But they get a location for me for free and they get the restaurant to give me free food. I just show up and I network. Now, here's the cool thing. Last networking event, as of this show, it was last week on a Tuesday. People were beating me to the event and they were talking openly in front of me going, dude, we've gone to other networking events. Yours is hands down the best in the entire East Bay. This is where I get my connections. I got my first client here, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? They all come and they talk to me and they know I'm doing real estate about it. And I say, well, hey, if I can ever help you or anyone else in real estate, just keep me in mind. I know you don't buy or sell real estate every day, but just remember me. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, man, I totally will, man. I really appreciate that. And it is profoundly impactful, even if you're not getting something out of it, instant gratification. Like I've been doing this networking for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Every month doing the show. And it's now starting to pay off. And it's going to pay off in big dividends. And so, Greg, I think you're 1,000% correct on that. But it's so simple and it's so, air quotes, old school that there's no way it could possibly work if it's not on Facebook. Well, fuck you, Facebook. No, this is free. Okay, this is a lot better.
There you go. So, and just for a tip for anybody who's a high volume agent or has a good relationship with a mortgage lender, insurance, title insurance, things like that. They can't pay you directly, but they can buy you gift certificates. So, hey, use it as a marketing strategy. So, they can buy you credits at your favorite places. You can get discounts through the owner operators. Hey, I'm going to be bringing new people here. Yeah. So there's a number of ways to underwrite that whole exercise through relationship building. So it's not just with your clients, it's with your service providers if you're, referring them and bringing value to them.
You know what? There was a, what was the name of that stinking program? Anyways, I'll remember it. But the point is that there's this guy, and he said that he went out and he made relationships with the different businesses in his town. The shoe shop, the local coffee shop, the local dress shop, so on and so forth. And he said that on average, every business that he would help promote and kind of do something for them, on average, that business would give him one referral a year. Yeah. So why wouldn't you want to go out and meet these people? They have people that know, love, and trust them walking through their front door that buy their product that you have no way of getting in front of ever, and they could recommend you. It's an army of referral agents out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So, Matt, to answer your question,
going back to the boards.
We have to do a couple more of these, shows here because there's just so much. But to answer your question, so I'm just, I like to get involved in the community. I had kids, they're all grown now. I have all girls, and I was, coaching every sport they played, every organization they were involved with. I was involved with Parks and Rec, Babe Ruth softball, my church. I've always been a leader in my church. So I'm just the guy that steps up when something needs to be done. So to answer your question, I'm just a leader, right? So I'm a natural leader and I get involved in things, and any nonprofit organization you get involved with, there's always going to be a need for somebody to step up. So when you say, how do you get on the boards? So now when it was companies and banks, that's different, right? So that's just from my business standpoint. I would, those are paid positions. So I was on a couple of bank boards. I was on a couple of corporate boards, but as far as the nonprofit organizations, yes. Educational foundations, there's two ways to get on there, just like there's two ways to build this, to build business in real estate. You can buy it or you can build it. If you want to get on the board of a nonprofit, you can buy it or you can build it. You can donate money and a lot of money and you're going to end up on the board, or you can go in there and volunteer and serve and, and watch for the opportunities, because they're always looking for somebody to step up and do things. And I always did.
That makes sense. I've always been a big giver. So it wasn't an invitation necessarily to be on the board. It was you spotted an opportunity to get involved first at a voluntary level, and then you look for the opportunity to lead, because there's always kind of there's always some sort of leadership gap that kind of exposes itself. And if you step into that gap, you'll end up kind of by default becoming the person that people start to look to.
That's it. And then I do get people reaching out to me because they see the other things I do and say, hey, I know you're involved over here. Would you help us over there? We need help with our organization. So I do get some random invitations just because I'm doing these other things, especially in the faith community. Once you're doing that, the word kind of spreads quick. And, and then donating. So, I was a founding member of an educational foundation in one of my communities, and the Dare County Education Foundation, one of the sponsoring members, and I gave them an office in my office building to get started with and everything. So, you know, I was offered a position there as an advisory capacity. You know, same thing with Parks and Rec, Baby softball, just all those things. You know, you're donating, you're contributing, you're active. They see that you're successful in business. So they want those types of people on the boards to help them, you know, band, you know, boosters, any of that kind of stuff, right? So that's just how it works. And then you have the hospital galas and the cancer research. And I mean, there's different levels of these.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah.
Programs. It's endless. And if you're single and you're young, or even if you're dating and you're young and you don't have kids and all that, you know, there's so many things you can do every evening that are totally fun, that you can build so many relationships, so many contacts. And the way things work now, you're just exchanging contacts, you know, airdrop, right? While you're at a meeting, you exchange business cards. It's super easy to build the business if you don't have the money to buy it. You can buy the business, you can do that too, but the best thing is, you know, to combine both, you know, in terms of, you know, building that general retail real estate business.
Well, thing one, this is just an impossible task. Matt cannot follow your advice. He hates humans. He recluses himself, and his little heart of coal will not allow him to love. It is a sad day. Sorry, Matt. You cannot listen to this advice.
So that's one way, right? Now the other way is the old-fashioned way, and again, you reverse engineer it, right? And you just look at it. And I would tell my agents, make 10 contacts a day. Pick up the phone, 10 new people a day, whether it's a FSBO, an expired, or, you know, whatever, an off-market property, and you're just farming a neighborhood. And people love to talk about their property. I've never had one person, don't call me again. You occasionally get the seller that says, you know, like, so I farm for land as a builder, and you'd get these people that would say, you know, this land's been in my family for 30 generations. I ain't never selling now in my lifetime, your lifetime, or anybody else's lifetime. And what happens 10 years later, they sell, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, people love to talk about their property, especially when you call them to inform them about something. You know, hey, this is Matt. I'm just calling, you know, everybody in the neighborhood, just kind of giving you an idea of where the market is right now, and, you know, what your house is worth. I looked your house up the other day. Did you know it's worth $600,000 right now? You know, and, you know, where do you stand? Are you thinking about moving? You think you're ever going to sell? I mean, you can get into that conversation, but you just open the door. Hey, this is Matt with Matt's Real Estate Company. And I'm just, you know, just calling to let you know that, you know, houses in your neighborhood are selling quickly. Your house is probably worth $600,000 or $700,000 if you're ever thinking about selling. But, you know, what are your plans? How long have you been in the neighborhood? You know, things like that. And you can do your research ahead of time or have somebody do it for you so that you know who you're talking to. That goes a lot further than just blind calling somebody or having somebody call. Yeah, this is calling on behalf of Matt Johnson. Are you thinking about selling your house anytime soon? You know, do a little bit more due diligence, a little bit more research, and learn about them first, or have somebody do it so that if you call or you have somebody calling on your behalf, it's more personal. You know, hey, I love your house. It's, you know, X amount of bedrooms. That's a hot product right now. Houses in your area are selling for X. I know you've been in there 5 years. I know at some point most people sell after 5 years. Here's what you can expect right now. Would love to keep you on my list and let you know where the values are. If there's anything I can, you know, that kind of thing, right? And just kind of give information and give value. Just talk to them about their property. People love that. They want to know what their property's worth.
Yeah. I mean, I get an updated email every month or two from another real estate agent who I'm friends with, and he put me on his system, and I love getting his email because I like looking at the analytics, even though I can go do it myself. It's fun to get it. And you're like, oh, wow. I mean, I got it last week. My property's gone up 49% since I bought it. I'm like, 50% gain? Sweet. All right, cool. I mean, I feel good about myself. I made a wise choice, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying here, Greg, is stuff that's so impactful, so simplistic that it slips right through the cracks when people think about marketing and branding. And I'm like you. I like the guerrilla marketing. My dad, when he came to California, I'm a fifth generation Californian, but when we moved to the San Francisco East Bay, we had Safeway, that's our supermarket here. And it was in downtown Alamo where he lived, in his primary market. And just like you, it was 1997. There was no Facebook. There was barely internet. You know, dial-up was a cool thing. Fax was just coming around the corner. Well, I don't even fax was even in 97.
Yeah. Faxes were around because we did InfoFax. So I would do like, instead of email blast, you would get a fax on your fax machine about my company. I mean, that was
I remember those. What my dad did is he took the entire like top portion of Safeway, and he just put his big smiling mug up there, and he just covered it with his Terry McDaniel, all the way across. You could see his name and his face clearly from the back of the store. And that was those were his version of Facebook ads, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was there. We're going to have a guy come on the show. His name is Steve Sims. He wrote a book called Blue Fishing, and he's all about being ugly when marketing. get seen, be different, don't be what everyone else is doing. And like, Gary, you're talking about YouTube, right? I mean, how old's your youngest daughter?
My youngest right now, 15.
Okay, she probably has her own YouTube channel, and she probably can edit like a madman.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's good.
And so, like, her generation is going to be killing it with video, right? But that's so foreign to all of us because, I don't want to edit. I don't want to learn how to download a free program and do something that takes 10 minutes to do. Icky poo. But if you were to do that as an older agent or more established agent, let me put it that way, then you could stand out from the crowd. Her generation is going to have to do something completely different. I'm convinced that your daughter is 15. If she wrote a letter in cursive, she's going to be hired by the CIA for, to decode like secret posts.
Yeah.
But that's probably stuff that's going to stand out.
That's awesome.
It's true, man. When's the last time you got a written anything in cursive, or let alone had to read it? You're like, what is that, an R? What is that, a G?
Yeah, it's a different world, that's for sure.
All right. Well, let's shift gears just for the last couple of minutes here. Greg, looking at what you see and given your background, all that stuff, what would you advise somebody's in the business right now? They're kind of doing their thing. They're networking and they're doing the things they need to do to kind of build their residential business, and that's fine. What would you advise them to kind of keep an eye out for, and what would you do differently? Let's say you were jumping into the business now as a 20-something-year-old and knowing what you know about the business and kind of where you see it going. What would you do?
Yeah, so I would do all of it, right? So I would do the YouTube thing, the social media. I mean, I would do all of that in addition to the offline branding that we talked about. But more than anything else, the hardest thing for most people to do is figure out what you want to be, right? So a lot of people get into real estate, it's kind of part-time, but if you're talking about somebody who wants to get after it and make it happen, what I tell everybody who's younger is find the best in the business doing what you want to do and go work for them. So if you want to be a top agent, go find the top agent in your market and go to work for them and edit their videos and pass out their flyers and knock on the doors and be part of their team, right? Learn from the people who are getting it done, even if you got to work for them for free. And I had a lot of younger people that worked for me as agents. They did all of my administrative transactional stuff and they learned from me. And, eventually I just turned the business over to them, right? So for young people, the fast track is to just find somebody who's just knocking it out of the park, doing whatever it is you want to do, and go to work for them and learn from them. If you want to be a real estate agent, you want to be a top producer, find the top producing agent in your market, team in your market, go to work for those guys and do exactly what they tell you to do, because they're all going to have a business plan, number one, which is where it all starts. You got to have a plan and you got to work it backwards like we just did with the networking. If you want to make $1 million a year in real estate gross commission income, you got to put that $1 million down. You got to know what your average transactions you're going to be in the market that you're going to focus on. You got to figure out what that market is and that average transaction. Then you got to say, well, that's going to turn into so many deals I need to do. And in order to get those deals, you got to have so many leads to generate so many appointments to get so many deals, right? It's a numbers game. There's nothing complicated about it. It's lead generation, it's relationships. Now, the way you fast track that and the way that you consolidate that is you find, in most markets, if you can find some good investors to work with, most investors don't want to do the real estate thing. You can get that reoccurring transactions, or you go to the high end. And you find the sweet spot in the high end of the market. In most areas, California, probably that 850 to 1.5 is probably a really good sweet spot, right? You start getting below 850 to 500, that's probably a good range. And then you got the below 500, which is probably I don't know about most markets of California these days, but in a lot of other markets, you get over 800 grand, it really slows down. But out in California, you probably have a sweet spot there. In that, now is it slowing down over 800 still?
No. Yeah. 800. You're lightning fast. I mean, 800 to $1.5 million, $1.7 million, even $1.8 million. You're clipping along. You crest 2, and it slows substantially.
Okay, so that's a good volume range. So for a new agent, I'd say go for the high end, right? Just go right to it. A lot of people are scared to go after the $800,000 to $1 million house. There's no difference in that transaction than there is in a $300,000 house, except the $300,000 house is going to probably take more work. It's going to be higher maintenance. It just is. The $800,000 to $1 million range, you need less of them. So that's another way to fast track your success to that commission income. And then it's just a different kind of a buyer and a clientele. They expect you to be more knowledgeable, more professional, and know your stuff. Right? Where a $300,000 house, they don't care. They just want to get it sold. They want somebody who's knowledgeable, but they're all about who's going to be the cheapest, who's going to, discount. You get into that upper end range. They want service. They want somebody who knows what they're doing. and they want somebody who's going to knock it out of the park, and you can afford to put together a package that makes you look like a pro, right? With your, your credibility package, that you send them with the listing agreement and all that before you ever go to the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about your drone video that you do of the house and the photography and, all of the stuff that you do that every agent does, but you just make it look better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about positioning, packaging, but you got to know your market. You got to know how many houses in their neighborhood sold, how many are for sale, how long were they on the market, what did they sell for, list price to ask price. You want to be with a top firm getting started out so that you've got a track record. So it's not so much about you, it's about your firm. Our firm sells 98% to asking price, whereas this firm sells 95% to asking price. So we get more than any other firm because we do X, Y, and Z. You can build a business and you can build your persona off of another company. You don't even need experience going into it. You just need to know how to leverage the assets of a team or an organization.
God, you know what? I know I love you, man. We share our first names, which I know you're a solid human because your mom and dad were smart individuals. Good name selection. But what you're saying is you're right on it, man. You're just total truth. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like sitting here listening to my dad talk going, it's the same shit my dad says.
I'm only 52, so I'm not.
No, no, your mindset's the same way. Your mindset is the same way. And I think that's so incredible. But people just don't think that way anymore. They just don't think that way. They just believe everything they're owed everything in life. I'm deserving of getting all of this business. When in reality, all you do is just go out there and make relationships. Matt and I have been talking about this since the January of 19, that this is the year of relationships. I mean, we got to get back to the basics. You got to get out there and go say hi, press the flush, kiss some babies and hug some people and just say hi. What's going on? How can I help build your business? What can I do?
Relationships are the most important thing in life. Mm-hmm. And the fortune is in the follow-up. That's an old school saying. It's cliche. It's whatever. But I'm telling you, 40 to 50, maybe even 60% of your business is going to be in the follow-up and follow-through. Most people make that first contact and they never, ever follow up. Yep. And when I say follow-up, you don't keep following up saying, hey, you ready to sell? You ready to sell? You ready to sell? You follow up and follow through. Hey, it was great meeting with you. Love to connect. And you ask about their kids, their family, their job, whatever it was you talked with them about when you connected. And that's the key. When you do the cold calling, when you do the networking, when you do the relationship building, get some key data points and make notes right away on their family, on their life. Put it in your CRM. Find a good, robust CRM that you keep data points on them, and use that information to follow up with them. Don't send them the recipe of the month. Don't send them the latest market report. Sure, that can be in the email. Hey, glad to hear, or how's Johnny doing? Whatever. By the way, here's the latest market report in case you're interested. Just kind of keep you informed. Can't wait to catch up again. And then, do events on a regular basis if you can afford it. If not, go to your company, go to your mortgage broker, partner with somebody and do events, get people together. But that follow-up is 100% of the game, especially if you're an investor, and you are looking for somebody to sell their house, right? And that's the cool thing about, we haven't really talked about it. Maybe that's a whole nother podcast, but, transitioning from agent to investor, then you become a one-stop shop, right? I can buy your house. I can list your house. I can help you sell your house to another investor. There's any number of ways because, again, it's relationships. We're here to serve you. We're transaction engineers. We're relationship engineers. I want to be your go-to person. Whatever you need, it's white glove concierge. I come to serve you. I'm in this business of real estate, and I'm a professional. Whatever you need, I want to be your go-to person. So, you got to brand yourself in that way that regardless of what their situation is, you can help them get rid of that house. Whether you can list it or not, you want to still help them get rid of it.
Are you, by any random chance, do you work with Chris Prefontaine or Zach Beach? Do you work with those guys at all?
No, I sure don't.
Okay, because you said exactly some of their verbiage, like a transaction engineer. That's one of the things that they talk about. That's the exact verbiage. I'm like, huh? I've never heard that before until now, these two interviews, but that's exactly what we all are. We are transaction engineers. Yeah. And that's like you were talking about, Greg, is the fact that what I'm really enjoying is being baby stepping myself into more on the investment side and focus that on for myself and for my clients, is that you have more arrows in your quiver than just like, hey, I can list or sell your home. It's like, hey, I can buy it. We can wholesale it. I can list it. I can do a ton of different things for you that can structure it for your best interest. And agents don't think in that mentality. They're just thinking of their best interest 99% of the time. Like, oh, I'm going to go on a listing appointment. I need to get this listing right now. But what if it's not the best time or the best thing for that seller? Maybe they're just looking at the real estate market and they're like, oh, it's a hot market. We should sell. Okay, cool. Where are you going? What are you going to do with the proceeds? Do you have a tax plan set up? What's your next step? Is it the best time for you? I want to downsize. Okay, we still have 3 kids at home. Let's get a 2-bedroom condo.
Oh, and by the way, do you have any other property, or do you know anybody who does? Oh, yeah, I got an apartment building. I'm selling that too. Guess what?
Yeah. Package this thing together and get this thing rolling. But it's,
right.
I mean, like when you say doing the follow-up, I have a card in my hand. It's a picture of me and my girlfriend. This is sent to me by a good friend of mine. This is us doing our Spartan race, right? And then us inside with another picture of our medal, and we're covered in mud and everything else. And my friend Gail Zentek, who is an amazing follow-up person, will send out cards. If you guys want to try these, go to freecardbygreg.com. You can send a card for free. I'll pick up the tab for it. And just send this to someone and see the reaction. This sits on my desk, right? 1, because I got a smoking hot chick. 2 is because it's a sense of accomplishment of, I remember crossing that line, right? I remember that success. And guess who reminded me about it? Gail. Mm-hmm. You can be that person that you can talk to people and remind them who you are without ever saying a single thing about, hey, thinking about buying or selling real estate? No, it's like, hey, dude, here's cheers to you for crossing the finish line and getting your first Spartan medal. Okay, awesome. It makes me feel good, right?
Yeah.
That's the true follow. That's how you get in the good graces with people, not by being that squeaky door that's like, want to buy, want to sell, want to buy, sell,
Yeah. You just become a transaction engineer, and you solve all kinds of problems, and and then find out, do they have anything else they're looking to do? And for you, Greg, if you're looking to get more into the investment development side, that's a great way right there. Everybody you talk to either owns commercial property or they know somebody who does, and a lot of times those people become sellers and they don't know necessarily which way to go, especially on the smaller mom and pop stuff. The bigger stuff that's owned by institutions, investors, things like that's a little different. But you find a lot of owner operators that way, and the marketing for those people is the exact same way that you're doing it. So, one of the best things you can do is start networking with investors and developers, find out what they're looking for, what they do, build yourself a buyer's list, and start shopping for them. And by doing that, you're going to find yourself some deals, and then you start picking up some deals. Whatever you can't handle or don't want, you push off your buyer's list and sell to them. Not that it's not good, you just might be too much or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try to work your way into these deals with people, partnering with these guys. You become the deal source. And you've got a way in the door, right? And then you can start building your portfolio and then start making that transition. Keep your team on the retail side. And then like I did, I had a team on the retail side and I just fed them deals, right? And I got the referral fees, or I split commissions with them, things like that. So, it's really all about those relationships, those follow-up, those follow-through, serving other people, becoming a go-to source. Mm-hmm. And then the final thing you said, and we talked about it earlier a little bit, we kind of touched on it, is that belief, right? So for the younger person starting out, or anybody who's in the game and they're starting out, whatever age, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to be passionate. You've got to say, I want to do this business. I know I can do this business. I'm going to do this business. You have got to be 100% committed, and you got to believe in yourself, and you got to be passionate about it, and you got to look to serve others first, solve their problems first. When you come from that position and that standpoint, everything else will take care of itself. But you got to believe. And if you don't believe, go find somebody who believes in you, whether it's a mentor, a coach, or somebody you work for. They will believe for you until you get there. And that's a lot of that relationship that a lot of people don't understand. Matt, you said you've got a business consultant in my area. A lot of times that's what that's all about. You're paying somebody to believe for you until you get there, and to help you, not only for the knowledge and experience, but it's a motivational thing. They're going to believe. They already know. You got me. I know you can do it. All you got to do is what I tell you, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll get off
that's
that.
Really good. Yeah, no, that's really, really good. I mean, we alluded to it earlier, just in terms of like, if you want to be the top agent in the area, find out who it is and go work for them. Do their marketing. Just do whatever it takes to kind of get around them. That is the one thing. Like, looking back on the time that I spent in real estate as an agent, that's the one thing I wish I would have done. There's a lot of things that I could have done better, but there's very few things I would have done radically differently, and that's one of them. I would have found who that was and gone and shadowed them, because that would have it would have helped a lot. It would have accelerated a lot of things for me. And now, knowing what I know about high level people, like from doing all the podcast work and getting to talk to a lot of people, you realize that they would actually love that. They would love for a young, aggressive, hungry person to come and just say, look, I'll bring you coffee every day if you just let me shadow you and watch what you do, help you with your calendar, maybe screen your email, or like whatever, like just tell me something that needs to be done that you don't want to pay somebody $10 an hour to do, and I'll do it for free. You just let me hang around. I learned a ton by just hanging around mentors, and you learn so much by osmosis. It's easy to discount that sometimes. So I love that piece of advice.
They're always color. Is there a certain color? Is there a certain language? And I'll tell you, there is a secret to this business, right? There is the one thing that you need to know to be successful in real estate, whether you're an investor or whether you're an agent or whether you're a developer, whatever it is, there is something you need to know, that there is nothing new, right? There is nothing new under the sun. It's all been done, and it's all being done. All you have to do is find good performance and model it. That's all you got to do. Find the best in the business and do what they're doing, use the tools and the systems that they're using, and do it. And there's so much free information out there, but everybody's always looking, well, there's got to be this funnel that I can use. There's got to be this website. There's got to be this CRM. No, it's the fundamentals of the business that have never changed. The secret is find something and stick with it and focus on it and follow that thing through to the end and be disciplined about it and have a disciplined approach. Make 10 phone calls a day, have one meeting a day, just do those things and look at how you can serve the other person first and believe in yourself. I mean, it's really that simple. It is
that simple. I got to meet Dave Ramsey last year, and it's hard as hell to get a hold of him and his team. But I mean, I would fly down to Nashville if I was given the opportunity. I would fly on my own dime down to see him. I would sit there like a fly on the wall, not make a peep, but I would sit there and I would carry his bag. I would follow him. I would buy a plane seat next to that man to fly wherever he's going. Now turn right back around.
Might get arrested, but
that's called stalking. Yeah. But it's a friendly stalk. But I mean, just to get around that, get around someone to learn how to do good radio, because he's one of the best in the business. That's the real thing about it. Go be the book boy or book girl or bag boy or bag girl for whoever's the best. Take your ego out of it. Learn. But here's the other thing. If you go talk to someone who's highly influential and they give you advice and you don't follow that advice, fall back in the hole you came out of, because they will not give you the time of day again because you just wasted their time. But if you do what they do, if you do what they say, and you come back and say, hey, Matt, Greg, you told me to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. Here are my results. What next? Dude, they'll give you a full day. They'll give you a week of information because they want to invest into you. Yeah. Right. And that's like a college course coming out of another human being. Yeah. On boots on ground stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Been there, done that. And all you got to do is listen and do what they say. And I tell you, mentors love nothing more to hear from their students say, I did what you said and it worked, or it didn't, but I did what you said.
Matt's told me that several times. I mean, as we've gone through this journey together, he's like, Greg, I followed your advice. What should I do next?
And on that note, well, talking about systems and tools, we'll mention a couple. But first, before we do that, Greg, thing one, what's the best way for people to reach out, connect, kind of get into your world, get connected with you?
Yeah, thing1.com. No, I'm just I got to see if that's available.
I was just searching that. I was like, okay, go to GoDaddy.
It's gregdickerson.com. So all my contact info's on there, email address, phone number. It's gregdickerson.com. And you can see what I do. I do more development than anything else these days, big projects. And I don't do a whole lot of residential transactional real estate anymore. I'll help a friend out here or there. And, I've got a few investors that I've done some deals with that I'll help out. But for the most part, I'm doing some ground up developments and some multifamily acquisitions and things like that.
Very cool. I'll have to talk about more of that offline. McDaniel, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Go to bookmcdaniel.com. That's where you guys are going to go. Once you go there let's talk about EXP. Let's talk about expanding your business. Let's talk about, if I can show you mathematically, is it worth 30 minutes of your time if I can show you that you're going to make more money with me and our tribe that Matt and I are building? If you feel that is something that you guys want to do, then go to bookmcdaniel.com, book 30 minutes. Let's have a conversation. If it's thumbs up, cool. If it's thumbs down, cool. We still love you. But go there. and I'll show you kind of some exciting stuff that is taking place. And then I'll give you Matt's cell phone behind the scenes, and you can give him a call and just give him some text love. So that's the extra value bonus there. So bookmcdaniel.com.
Mm-hmm. And then for the show, make sure to go to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever your favorite platform is. Give us a 5-star review, and make sure, especially if you enjoy an episode like this with the guest, make sure to give Greg a shout out in your review to kind of thank him for his time and his contribution. So with that being said,
I'll come back again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, I was going to say that's a given. There's many, many more things we need to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But thing
Color.
number 2. Yes,
Color.
we do need a color for the bow that we're going to tie around this episode. Let's go. I like your polo, Greg, that you're wearing today. Let's go with a nice cobalt blue. That'll be the color of the ribbon that we will tie around this episode.
Ooh, I love cobalt blue. I really do actually like that color. So I'm not just.
It brings out my eyes from here.
I can't even say anything to that. I'm like, oh, all insults went away. I saw you in my shirt, and I'm like, why is he wearing my shirt? In my head, I'm like, okay, that's disgusting. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you. Matt kind of loves you. I know Thing One loves you. But you know what? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with us. Hopefully we put some smiles on your face. Hopefully you learned a lot from Greg. He really is a wealth of knowledge. If you guys didn't quite pick up everything that you heard there, go back and re-listen to this, because there is some super powerful stuff there that's so simple you might just miss it. So listen to this episode a couple of times, pick out the stuff that Greg was laying down, and we will have him back to bring up some more good and tactical stuff you can put into your business right now. Literally, you can pick up the phone after this episode and call someone and go to lunch. That is how actionable this stuff is. So,
100%.
All right, guys. Until next time, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.